Texas has had, and certainly you can feel it tonight, but you wait until tomorrow night when we really start getting going.
And in this first of the three-time finals of the 800 free relay, Georgia, Florida State, Georgia Tech hit the water. Tennessee was supposed to be there in lane number 5. They missed the scratch deadline, so they're a declared false start.
You know, we'll be talking a lot about it in these 800 free relays, and then of course in the 1650 last day, but this is a timed final. I think most of our viewers know that anybody could win from an earlier heat, so this is not a final, this is actually heat 1 of 3, but because it's a time final, Rich, you could potentially get a winner out of an earlier heat. Most of the times, what do we say? That's not going to happen. But this year, we'll get to it a lot more in the next heat, but this year, it certainly could happen. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all for it to happen.
And all the other relays, and we'll talk a little bit about what you're saying when we get to NC State in that second heat, but all the other relays will have prelims in the morning, but on this particular one, they say the second heat typically would only be eligible for 9th place points. Well, in this one, anybody who finishes in the top 8, despite being from an earlier heat, could earn the corresponding points.
And again, I'll go back to what I was talking about earlier, Rich, and the fact that these relays are so critical for so many reasons. One, this is very much a team sport. Many people will say, well, you know, swimming is such an individual sport, and obviously in many ways it is, but in so many other ways, especially at this level, this collegiate level, it is all about team. These are your brothers for an entire season you're just talking about. And in a relay, it's especially a tight-knit group because they've been working together for the last 7, 8, 9 months. So it's really important that trust comes into play here, and the fact that you really have to rely on each other. And the second reason is obviously the points. I mean, when you're talking double points, absolutely critical.
We've got Georgia. They are in lane number 3. They're at the top of your screen, and then just below them, Florida State, and then Georgia Tech at the bottom. Walker Higgins for Georgia took over for Javier Acevedo. Higgins at the top right now was 18th in the 200 free at the NCAA championships last year. Rudo Luke is in the water for Jakob Siazek of Florida State, who led things off, and for Georgia Tech, it's now Kaio Pamputs, who is an excellent swimmer. We'll be talking more about him as the meet goes along, we presume, and he took over for Rodrigo Correa for the Yellow Jackets.
Tempo is so important on a relay like this. You want to start to develop that right away. The 200 freestyle, we'll talk a lot more about that later on, and especially when we get to the individual 200 freestyle, which might be the most exciting, potentially, race in the entire meet. 4 years ago, I think 2015, 132 flat won it, Rich, and since then, since 4 years ago, the winning time of 32 flat, 17 swimmers have been faster. That's how fast this single lone event has got. No other event can claim that kind of speed.
That's incredible, and we could have more swimmers this week go sub 130, as Townley Haas and Blake Peroni did last year.
Yeah, which we thought was, remember when that happened? We thought the world was ending. We couldn't believe the fact that Blake did it, first of all, leading off the relay, and Townley broke that record a couple days later in the individual 200. And it certainly could happen tonight. You've got some stars leading off their relays. Most of the teams coming up have their stars or their best swimmers leading off their relays, and certainly next heat is one of them. When you have Dean Ferris from Harvard, who has a top time in the country this year at 130.8, he's leading off, so we'll have a guy that potentially could break 130 the very first leg of the next heat.
Freshman Andrew Abruzzo swimming for Georgia. He's in the top in lane 3, and then just below him, Griffin Alanis of Florida State, and in lane number 6, Colton Williamson of Georgia Tech at the bottom. Those are the 3 in the water right now in the first of the 3-time finals in the 800 freestyle relay.
Georgia Tech doing a fine job of moving up in the ranks. Had a great ACC championship.
Courtney Sheely-Hart, the head coach there. Kyle Pamputs, who we saw in that second leg. Excellent swimmer who has really dropped a ton of time this year, the co-MVP this year at the ACC Championships. And now Colton Williamson in the water for him. And he will hand it off. The fourth leg for Christian Ferraro after another lap.
My guess is you're going to have to be under 6:16 to have a chance to score, or at least under 6:17 to score in the bottom. That's just the bottom. That's the B points. The A points, I mean, look at the 8th seed is 6:13.4. Ohio State. I mean, that's just crazy time. That's averaging 133 pluses, Rich.
Really, really something. It is Ferraro in the water for Georgia Tech, and Vladimir Stefanik for Florida State. Aiden Burns for Georgia. And again, the NCAA record 6:05.3, American record 6:07.5. Will you see that approached in a subsequent heat?
You're talking a lot about those records here in the next couple of heats. And I'm starting to talk about the next heat because it could happen as these swimmers finish up here.
Ferraro for Georgia Tech touches in a time of 6:17 flat.
Nice. That's a good swim. Early heat. You're kind of out there by yourself. You go your best time of the season by 2.5 seconds. Coach Hart will be happy with that. And that's potentially could score. I mean, right now it's 14th or 15th best time, and you've got to figure a couple of these relays here in the next heat are gonna slip off.
Georgia Tech with the fastest time in the first of the 3-time final.